have a solid strategy and we just tweak it over time as the industry evolves, because clearly we are in a very pivotal point in technology with the emergence of AI. And I believe that our technology providers are going to need to be able to innovate and deliver both the hardware and the services, solutions that our customers need to really building those relationships, creating an environment of psychological safety, and drive that team to be more successful. And it really helps me to keep a balance in my life now, called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And it actually was a life-changing book for me. That morning time when I focus on myself, getting a lot more balance. And I work with both, actually. So within the company, but we also work with other suppliers and partners to help us deliver for our customers.
So, hello, Tiffany. Welcome to the MSys Luminary Lounge. We call it as the nexus where ideas meet innovation. So today we are excited to have you with us, a dynamic executive known for leading high-performing teams and crafting top-notch strategies. So Tiffany, it's great to have you with us. Without wasting a moment, let's dive into your journey and insights.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So Tiffany, I would love to hear about your journey. Like, was there any eureka moment that really sparked your leadership path, or something that made you realize this is what you were meant to do?
Absolutely. You know, I actually remember early on in my life journey having some very influential leaders that took me on this path to leadership. And you might be surprised to hear that one of those people was my high school band director. He was a dynamic leader who really focused on more than just the musicality of the students that he taught, but really thinking about how we show up as leaders, servant leaders, personal accountability, and building relationships and keeping commitments. Those were the core principles that he made sure that no matter whether it was getting ready for a band practice or a competition, or just being good students and good stewards of life, he taught us those lessons and made sure that we stayed on a positive track, both through music, but as true people. And so as I think back to my early days, my band director was actually one of the most influential people in having me on this leadership journey and getting me to where I am today.
That sounds great. So, just like everyone have the challenges. So, like in the tech industry. So, can you share some important moment that was crucial in shaping your career?
Sure. I didn't know that I was going to go into technology, actually. So when I graduated college, I accepted a job in a leadership development program at a financial institution. And the program itself had operations and technology. I received my bachelor's degree in business administration and economics, and just knew that the right path for me was going to be business operations. Like, this is what I want to do. And went through my rotations in the leadership development program and quickly found out that maybe I wasn't as interested in operations as I thought I was. And in the technology rotations, found myself a lot more engaged and interested in what technology could do to enable this bank to be more successful. So after completing the leadership development program, I found myself actually taking my first full-time job in training in technology, where I somehow convinced the leadership team that I would be able to teach other engineers how to do basically PC imaging, as someone who'd never done it myself nor had any background in technology. But I really find myself to be very adaptable and resilient. So I figured it out, did the training, and that actually started my career in technology. And I've never looked back and never left the field since, because it's just a place where you can learn, you can grow, and it's ever changing, which certainly fits well with me and who I am as a person who's always curious, always trying to learn new things and getting my hands dirty in areas that I've never experienced before. So that was my journey into technology by going through those rotations and experiencing this world that was very fascinating and giving me an opportunity to leverage my best skills.
Okay, that sounds great. So, growing up, were there any figures or moments that sparked your fascination with technology?
Well, like I said, that really my interest started as I came into the leadership development program at the bank that I worked at. Prior to that, I would say my parents were blue collar workers and did everything they could to provide for me and my five siblings. So I have a pretty large family. And even early on in fairly humble beginnings, my parents did make sure that we had as much access as possible to technology as it started coming out. And being able to have a computer at home in a low income family was, kind of a rare thing. But my parents made sure that we had a computer in the home. So I was able to learn how to type early, learn how to navigate the internet, and found that when I did have the opportunity to jump into this technology field, I was actually well prepared, as an early talent person from a very small town in southern Georgia. It really was remarkable that my parents were able to make a way for us to have that access, which allowed for me to be able to take advantage of this opportunity when it presented itself for me to get into technology.
This sounds very interesting. With technology evolving so quickly, how do you
Mhm.
stay on the top of all the changes and keep your head wrapped around a complex set of technologies?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mentioned earlier that I'm that type of person who's always learning new things. One of the things that I've really come to enjoy is in the area where I live, there's this really large park, and I actually get to go for walks around the park. And during that time, I listen to podcasts, I listen to books, and it's a perfect time for me to just stay curious and learn new things. I also am a part of an organization called the Information Technology Senior Management Forum. It's an organization that supports the advancement of Black technology executives in technology careers. And this organization prides itself on making sure that we're staying cutting edge, that we have speakers that can come in and ensure that we're getting the latest information on technology. We have futurists that come in and talk to us about what they see coming in the future and how we as business leaders need to be prepared for that sort of disruption and keeping our businesses healthy and safe, looking at risk profiles, looking at how this technology may change the way the work is being done, or we may need to pivot and think differently about what we offer to our customers in keeping a healthy business. So that organization is really key to me being able to stay up to date on what's going on in the world of technology. And then quite frankly, just staying curious. I mean, a good old fashioned Google search will come up with all types of things. And I do like many, I like the latest gadgets and things, and can say I even just recently um, got into my first fully electric vehicle. So trying to see what that's like. And like I said, it really is just me being curious and staying in tune with what's going on in the industry through books, through podcasts, through my involvement with technology organizations and conferences.
So true, like staying updated with the current trends is really helpful to grow. What vision and mission propel your company forward in the tech space? Like, could you share some strategies you use to achieve your company goal?
Absolutely. So at my current company, we really focus on delivering technology and services solutions that support forward progress. How do we help other companies, other individuals meet their goals and get to where they're trying to go, and innovation as well? Solid strategies don't drastically change year over year. If you have a solid strategy, it really should be an evolution over time where you evolve with the changing industry trends, with customer needs, and you tweak it as you go. And I believe our company has been doing that. We have a solid strategy and we just tweak it over time as the industry evolves, because clearly we are in a very pivotal point in technology with the emergence of AI and generative AI technology. We are no different in that we also want to make sure that these technologies are available to our customers. But internally, we're also figuring out, well, what does this do to our ability to be a more effective, efficient business as well? So we're both looking at, well, what do we do to provide this technology and these capabilities to our customers from a hardware perspective, from a services perspective, from a consulting perspective? How do we help you make the most benefit of the technology that you're implementing in your company? But then also, what are we doing internally to leverage the technology to be able to provide services to you in a more efficient and effective way? So I think that what we're doing is staying really focused on execution of our core business, obviously, but then also making sure we're not shying away from these emerging markets, that we're digging in there as well so that we are staying in touch with where our customers are going, but don't lose the importance of the core business that made us who we are today. So we're going to continuously innovate, but we're going to be careful and thoughtful of choosing what emerging and strategic opportunities that we sort of dive into, but at the same time, staying very, very dedicated to our core business that made us who we are.
Yeah, this sounds very really interesting. So moving ahead,
Mhm.
given your yeah, just given your experience driving technology strategies, what are your technology predictions for the next 2 years in digital transformation?
I mean, it's hard to have a conversation about transformation these days without talking about AI. I mean, it's just almost impossible, right? And I believe that our technology providers are going to need to be able to innovate and deliver both the hardware and the services solutions that our customers need to really accelerate and transform their businesses, all while harnessing the power of the technology themselves. So you want to be able to provide the technology and services to others, but you're going to have to transform your own business to take advantage of the efficiency gains and the power of this new and emerging technology that is really transforming the way we do business today. In that framework, I also believe that data will be king. You know, having the right data structured appropriately is going to be the game changer in who really gets the most benefit out of the technology versus those who, maybe don't get quite as much benefit from it. And I believe that from that perspective, that offers a lot of opportunity for service providers from consulting and professional services to assist our customers in getting that data organized appropriately and being able to get the most value out of using the technology. So over the next 2 years, I mean, we're going to see the use of generative AI continue to grow, both commercially with businesses as well as personally, with just the everyday consumer, looking at how they can use this generative AI technology to make their lives easier, to do things and generate content. Small business owners, this will be game changing to their ability to accelerate their work and get to them spending more time on their business versus some of the other activities like generating content for advertising or for social media posts. Being able to leverage AI to do that for them will allow them to spend more time on their business and growing their business. But I also think with that, I would be remiss if not mentioning that we also have to make sure that we're answering the questions around ethics and integrity in using this sort of technology, and making sure that we as both business leaders and folks who are sort of at the leading edge of this technology are addressing those questions and making sure that we're using the technology appropriately as well.
Yes. So as you mentioned about generative AI, so I just wanted to ask you, like, does AI is taking away the creativity or how?
I don't think so. I think that it's almost like an assistant. When you're working with AI, one of the most important parts of especially generative AI is being able to appropriately prompt the the AI to get the results that you're looking for. And depending on those prompts, your results are going to be significantly different. So you and I could conceivably ask a similar question of the AI agent and assisting us and get very different results and very different answers. So I believe that my contribution, if you will, in figuring out what it is that I want to create and working with the AI to help me create the content that I want to create is still providing a level of creativity and my own creativity that I'm looking to put out into the world. So I don't really feel that it will stifle creativity. It's just an assistant that's helping me bring my vision to life.
So, Tiffany, like how is your organization gearing up to adapt and leverage these technological changes?
My organization in particular, and I'll talk about my team, is really trying to embrace actually the use of AI technology and assisting us. We're using it for some simple things like helping us to summarize meeting notes and helping us with taking uh, information and synthesizing it down into summaries and things like that. But we're also starting an effort within my team to look at our processes that we do today and where we may be able to have AI augment our ability to deliver some of those services faster. At the end of the day, we deliver for customers. That's our core reason for being here. And if we can get that work to our customers faster, that's going to create a happier customer. It's also going to create more value for them as well as for the company. As we're able to get those services delivered faster, we can also bring that revenue into the company faster. So we've just kicked off an initiative here within the last month or so to take a look at our entire process and find where are the places where they're kind of lower value added activities for us that an AI agent could do on our behalf, where we can increase our productivity without ever having to bring in another person on the team to do those types of activities. It's also making the team happier because they're getting an opportunity to spend more time with their sales teams, spend more time with their customers, which is really the value of what they do. It's really making sure that our customers understand what our services are that we can provide to them so they can make good educated decisions. And also supporting our sales team in selling those services so that they have the confidence that they know what we can provide to their customer, what we can deliver, that we can support them and give them the backup support that they're looking for. So the less time we spend on some of those administrative tasks, the more time we get to spend on building those relationships.
And this sounds interesting. So, out of curiosity, like building team is an art. So, how do you align your team with your mission?
I really couldn't agree more that building teams is a lot of art, maybe a little bit of science. And for me, I've had several teams over the years, and core values has always really been at the center of how I start in building a team. And that just doesn't change. I'm very transparent with my team about what my core values are and what's really important to me. And those authentic connections through those shared values really help us to start to build a relationship of trust. And I think that, excuse me, having a relationship of trust is the foundation to a strong, high performing team. You have to have that psychological safety to be able to share the good, the bad, and everything in between. Having a high performing team doesn't always necessarily mean everything is sunshine and roses all the time. But having a team that feels like they're in a space where they can trust their leader, trust their peers, gives them a sense of ability to share, hey, I have an issue and I need some help. Or I disagree with that and I would like us to consider doing something else. The ability to not only come to the team when things are happy and great, but to be able to come to the team when things are not great really ensures that the team is able to perform at a high level. Not being afraid to make a mistake. Not being afraid that, oh, if I divulge this information, I'm going to get in trouble, so to speak. Those are the key things that I want to make sure that this team understands from the outset, which allows us to be more productive going forward when there are times that we have to have difficult conversations. I make sure that the team is aligned with our company strategy. Do you understand how our work contributes to the overall company strategy and how the company will be successful based on our metrics and our KPIs? Then tying those to those individual goals ensures that the team has a very clear link between this is what our company is looking to achieve, here are our team goals, and this is my contribution to those team goals and how I contribute to the overall company's success. And then lastly, communicate often. Revisit those goals. Make sure we're in alignment continuously throughout the year. And as priorities change, are we having those conversations such that you understand, hey, this priority is now changed, which means this goal has changed, and this is what this means to me. So having those regular one-on-one conversations, those ad hoc conversations, and those sort of check-ins at, quarterly, mid-year, year-end, so that we are continuously aligned on what the expectations are. Those are some of the things that I really focus on in building high-performing teams, and so far have found that really staying connected, building those relationships, creating an environment of psychological safety and frequent communication drive that team to be more successful.
Yeah, like you have put this very nicely. Yeah, first of all, that communication is the key. And yes, this is going to help our viewers. So moving ahead,
Sure.
so mm, like talking about the work-life balance. So what are your thoughts on work-life balance?
I think we're all looking for that work-life balance, and it's very different, I think, from one person to the next. Everybody's circumstances are a little bit different, whether you have, earlier in career and wanting to go to happy hour versus maybe later in career where you have, a spouse and maybe children, aging parents, and everything in between that spectrum. That work-life balance can look very different, I think, depending on who you are and what stage of life you're in. But for me personally, I will say physical fitness is really key for me, for my physical and mental well-being, honestly. And it really helps me to keep a balance in my life. Now, I'm not going to suggest this necessarily for everyone, but I will just share for myself. I read this book actually it's been several years back now, called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And it actually was a life-changing book for me. And the overall gist of the book is making sure that you give yourself enough time in the mornings when you get up before starting your workday to focus on yourself. It's generally a time of day when, the world is still calm. Your emails are probably not going crazy. You're not getting 1,000 IMs. And it's a time that you can focus on you. And I really took that to heart as someone who was getting up, with enough time to basically get ready for work and get to work. I started getting up much earlier, took some time then to do some positive affirmations for myself and go to the gym, get my workout in, and then having some time to do some reflection, preparation for my day. It really changed my life, actually. And I found that it was an opportunity for me to get a little bit more balance in my life. You start your day, you get to work, and then, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym after work, and I'm going to read this after this, and life happens, whether it's, the unexpected fire drill at work, or the spouse has a need, the children have a need, whatever it is. You try really hard, and then it's 10 o'clock at night, and all you can do is, drag yourself to bed, and you don't feel like you really had any time to yourself. That morning time really is protected for me. And that's the time when I focus on myself and found myself getting a lot more balance and mentally being able to have a little bit of separation between getting up first thing in the morning and when I start work also helped me with a little bit more balance, especially during the pandemic when it just felt like a hamster wheel day after day. I had that morning time to myself, then time to get ready for work and go into work. So I would say that those are some of the keys that I have to trying to achieve that ever elusive work-life balance. But it definitely keeps me physically fit, but also mentally fit.
Yeah, I'm also connected with this because recently I've started doing this and started following this practice, and it's helping me.
Oh,
So,
I'm glad to hear that.
yes, so for sure, this will help our viewers too. So, moving ahead, so can you just give an example of practice you have implemented to support work-life balance in your
Mhm.
team?
Oh, and my team, great question. I really actually do encourage the team to make sure that they're taking stock of how they're feeling throughout the day. Yeah, I've had a team member, for example, that had a really high stress day a couple weeks ago, and I said, okay, stop, just stop. Do you like to take walks? It's just like, yeah, I do. Shut down, go take a walk, get outside, get some fresh air. When you come back, I bet you'll feel different. And she resisted me at first, and I said, "No, no, it's okay. The world is not going to end if you go for a 20-30 minute walk. It'll be fine." So she finally went for her walk, came back after a while and sent me an IM and said, "Tiffany, I feel so much better." I'm like, "Great." I really try not only to, practice what I preach. So, like I said, I have my routine that I make sure that I stay committed to, but I also really try to look for those opportunities to encourage my team to take care of themselves. At the end of the day, if you're burnt out, if you're struggling, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be able to perform at your best. Just taking a beat, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, to clear your mind. If it's going for a walk, if it's taking your lunch away from your desk, which I highly encourage, better for digestion, better for your mental health. Take your lunch away from your desk, take a break during the day. Those are the things that I really encourage the team to do verbally, not just, hey, say it once. Really try to verbally impress upon the team how important it is to take those breaks and come back refreshed. It improves your productivity, it improves your mood. And quite frankly, we all have families of some kind and we want to be present for them too. So we can't burn ourselves out to the point that we can't be present for our families when they need us to. So I really do encourage the team intentionally to think about taking those breaks and taking care of themselves so that they can still take care of the business and take care of their families as they need to. And then just in general, have a little bit more peace in terms of how they approach their work.
Right. So, moving ahead, so do you mostly rely on internal talent or do you also work with external technology partners?
I work with both actually. So within the company, I definitely work with other peer groups and teams to deliver the services that we deliver. But we also work with other suppliers and partners to help us deliver for our customers. And it can be a range of reasons why. It can be capacity to assist us when we need additional capacity, but it also can be capability where we have a partner that has maybe a niche capability that we find is more effective for us to leverage a partner to deliver versus trying to build that capability within our own ecosystem. Our partners are a really important part of how we actually end to end deliver services for our customers. And we try very hard to be nimble and agile as it relates to those customer needs, and having a strong partner network gives us more flexibility to handle some requirements that our customers may bring our way that are a little bit outside of our core competencies within the company.
Okay, that sounds interesting. So,
Yeah.
just like this is like how do you see disruptive technologies being influenced by geopolitical affairs or dynamics?
Most recently I had a situation that came up actually with the new, you know, um, AI technology. There's some very, you know, uh, the the semiconductors and the technology that's being used to create this AI technology is getting much more regulated day after day, and those regulations can change, from one day to the next, from one country to the next. And I found myself in a situation where my team, who manages some of these expensive and really high powered parts, had been missed on a communication about a change, a regulatory change in how these devices should be managed. Quickly had to pivot, make sure we understood what those new requirements were and what we needed to do to get in compliance with those requirements, get the team trained and get it implemented as quickly as possible, and then remediate the work that had been done prior to our knowledge of this new regulation. These types of situations are going to, I think, continue to arise where countries are trying to figure out, well, how do we manage this technology? As we talked just briefly about earlier, AI certainly has its ethical and issues around possible integrity that we all are aware of, and countries are trying to kind of figure out how to navigate that and what they want to do to protect themselves and to protect their citizens. So these types of affairs are going to continue to evolve as the technology evolves, as the technology proliferates more around the world, and we just have to be nimble. We have to be agile and make those adjustments, not only for penalty reasons. Of course, we don't want to be penalized for not appropriately following regulations, but also just, again, as we embrace this new technology, we really need to understand what are those ethical and integrity issues that need to be addressed. And our governments are doing the best they can. I'm sure there's lots of opinions about that, but we'll adjust as those things take place and make sure that we're in compliance and doing the right thing for our customers, as well as politically related to what our governments are requesting of us.
Yeah, this sounds interesting. So moving ahead, this is the last question for you.
Sure.
So, in your view, like what should be the lasting impact of technology on humanity and the world?
I reflect on this question a little bit because technology is such a broad term and such a broad word that we use to describe this ever evolving and growing band of work that allows for us as humanity to interact with the world in a little bit of a different way than we did before. Over the course of decades and decades of time, we've seen, even within our lifetime, such a massive evolution in technology and how we interact with one another. Whereas before, getting to talk to someone on the other side of the world was, considered almost impossible, to today, here we are sitting in two different countries at two different times, talking to each other over video as if this is just normal, because this is the advancements of technology that have gotten us to where we are today. And it's just ever changing and ever evolving. I believe when applied ethically and with good intention, technology should help level the playing field for people of all walks of life, that they're able to achieve their goals, reach their potential. And when we think about just this ability to have this video call versus a young child who perhaps was born, I'll use my brother as an example, born with a birth defect in his heart, and today has a transplanted heart that allows him to continue to be here with us today. It gave him an opportunity he otherwise would not have had without the evolution of technology to get to the point where we can do these miraculous organ transplants that even today are being done in such a way that probably 10, 15 years ago we couldn't imagine, being less invasive, being less difficult for our loved ones to endure. So Looking forward, lasting impact on humanity and the world, I want to see that technology helps to open the doors for underprivileged and disadvantaged, that they have the same, opportunities as others to get ahead, change the trajectory of their own life as well as their future generations. Because we know once those doors are opened and those who perhaps wouldn't have had the opportunity get those opportunities, it not only changes their life, it changes their children's lives, their children's lives, and so on and so forth. It gives them a chance to participate in the world stage in a way that they otherwise would not have had. So that's what I'm hoping will be the lasting impact of technology on humanity and the world, is that we all get the chance to live up to our fullest potential, leveraging technology to boost us to that next level and make it better for our future generations to come.
Yes, right. Like, can you please share few mantras for our viewers which can help them grow?
Oh, one thing to help grow.
Yeah, to grow, learn, to
Yes,
achieve something.
absolutely. Stay curious. Ask questions. We never lose the opportunity to learn and grow. There's this old saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I don't believe that at all. I've taught my old dog new tricks, and I don't feel like I can't be taught new tricks. It is I think, most important thing is that we never lose that curiosity to learn, to engage in something new, to even teach someone else something new, because by being the teacher, it helps to reinforce that skill set for us, as well as through the discovery of this other person and what they're learning, we can learn new things as well. So my advice is to stay curious, ask questions, read, watch podcast or watch blogs and podcasts, and give yourself that opportunity to expand your mind into different topics and different subject areas, staying current on what's going on in the industry as well as what's to come.
Yes, thank you, Tiffany, for sharing that. So, yeah, it's a wrap then for this episode of Luminary Lounge. And huge thanks to you, Tiffany, for sharing your incredible journey and expertise. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohini. It has been my pleasure to be here today and share. Thank you.
Yes, so stay tuned for more inspiring stories and cutting edge ideas. Until next time, keep innovating and stay curious.